Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, the show where you get your questions in and we get back to you. So hopefully it ends up being a useful format. Not only do you asking a question get some value, but everybody listening learns as well. So let's get on with it. How do you get involved and get your question in?
It's so easy. Just call 013 808 00035 or you can go to propertyhub.net/ask. Either way, you'll end up leaving us a voicemail. You'll then sit back and wait patiently while we formulate an answer for you, just as we're about to for Eleanor.
Hi Rob and Rob, it's Eleanor here. I'm sure you're going to have a whole load of stamp duty related questions coming in this week, so thanks so much for the time you put into the podcast. With the now confirmed extension of the holiday until the end of June, I'm keen to explore how far I can exploit the top end of my budget without having to consider stamp duty, but also wary of making a rushed investment. How do you think the stamp duty holiday will impact the market after the extension ends? As a first-time buyer and with a budget of between £350,000 and £400,000, I know that the impact of the holiday may not be as great for me as for other buyers, but I'm still very interested to hear your take on whether I'm best to take advantage of the stamp duty holiday if I can, or whether I could save more money in the long term by sitting tight and waiting for prices to settle. Thanks so much for your advice.
Thank you, Eleanor. I really hope the next question comes from Rigby. Let's talk stamp duty. The holiday has been welcome for all people who are interested in property, not just property investors. But of course, we know that holiday is coming to an end later this year. Now, I completely understand your question. If the market surges between now and then, are you better waiting for it to settle? Maybe. It depends on how much it surges between now and then. Because if you can lock your price in now, still take advantage of the holiday, prices could go up a little bit more. When and if they settle, I don't think they'll be settled by much and for very long. And who knows, the government may extend it further, so the party may just continue on and on and on. Ultimately, if you're in it for the long term, none of this should matter. Of course, we all want to time the market to perfection. And of course, we all want to buy at that perfect time where we get the maximum upside. But let's say that you buy now. After stamp duty, the market falls by a couple of percent because it settles down. But in 12 months' time, it's gone up by 6-7, which is entirely possible. Overall, did it really matter that the market fell for a short period by a few percent? Probably not. If you're in it for the long term, then yes, you may not get your time into perfection, but ultimately you'll be well looked after. And any small dip or settling period will be barely noticeable in a few years' time. You get a lot of investors asking about timing the market and whether they should wait for the next dip or when the market just mildly settles a little bit. But my answer is always the same. If you're in it for the long term, get in now. Because yes, you might be able to time it at a slightly better period. But if you don't, you've missed out on all the growth that's available right now. So action now for long-term property investors is normally the best answer.
Okay, let's move on to our next question. This one's coming from Owen.
Hi guys. I'm a massive fan of Property Hub. Been looking at you guys for many, many years now, even before you rebranded. Basically, my partner and I have a question which we can't find a decent answer to anywhere. So I thought it's a perfect opportunity to ask Rob and Rob. So our question is, let's say you buy a buy-to-let on a minimum LTV of 25%. You get a fixed mortgage for about 3 years. And you get to the end of that 3 years and your house price has dropped. So you're in no longer at 25% LTV. Let's say you're at 20% LTV by the time you come to remortgage. What happens at this point? Are you then locked into the worst rate that you get after that 3 years? Or do you have to put in more cash to bring yourself back up to 25% to get a decent deal? Yeah, basically that. So what is the situation then? Are you stuck on the worst rate unless you can put in more cash to get 25% LTV again? Can you look around for other mortgages where you could get a better rate or what? We're not really sure. So yeah, let us know.
Okay, thank you for the question, Owen. Well, the answer is if you are in the situation where you're on a fixed term deal and then by the end of the fixed term, you're no longer meeting the criteria for that product, you will then not be able to do what's known as a product transfer onto an equivalent product. So normally when you come to the end of a fixed term and assume nothing's changed, you then got the option of either going and refinancing with another lender if a better deal is out there, or doing what's called a product transfer with your existing lender, which is much more straightforward and lets you just move on to another, say, 3-year fix at whatever the prevailing rate is. If, however, it was a 75% loan-to-value product, but you now don't have 25% equity, maybe you've only got 20%, then you can't do that. So automatically, you would drop onto the lender's standard variable rate, which normally is not very attractive. They tend to be pretty high. You're always better off arranging something other than the SVR, but that was what you would end up being dumped onto. To avoid that situation, there are a couple of things you could do. The first, as you said, is you could put more cash in. So you could effectively remortgage for less by putting in more of your own cash to get yourself back into that bracket. Alternatively, you could look with that lender or with another lender to see what products are available at that higher loan to value. So maybe you don't fall into the 75% bracket anymore, but you do within 80%. Now, there aren't many 80% products around, but there are some. And although the rates on those are not going to be as competitive as the 75s, they might still be better than the standard variable rate. So it's worth speaking to your mortgage broker to find out. So really, in that situation, the short answer is speak to your mortgage broker. They'll be able to tell you whether you qualify for any products with your current lender, what the standard variable is, and what other products you might be able to move on to. And based on that, you can decide what to do, including deciding if you want to put more cash in to get a lower rate, if that is an option that's open to you. If this does happen though, don't panic. Speaking to a broker means that you'll know your options. And even if the answer is, well, you're just going to have to deal with being on a high rate until your equity position improves, unless there's been an enormous change in prices, hopefully it won't take too long for the value to pick up again, or alternatively for you to redirect some of your rental income into building up your cash pot to reduce your mortgage and get back on a more attractive product. I hope that helps, Owen. It sounds like it's more of a hypothetical question at the moment rather than something you're actually dealing with, which makes sense at this point in the market. But now, if that situation does ever occur, you know what to do.
You certainly do. And you know what to do after you've listened to this is that you make sure you're ready for Thursday for the Property Podcast. And of course, you're here same time, same place next week for Ask Rob and Rob. So until those two lovely events occur, take care, have fun. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.